asking for entrance, and I gladly gave it to him. His tongue shot into my mouth and our tongues began to play with each other. His warmth filling me and I couldn't get enough of him. I closed the little space there was between us by lifting my hand up to head and fisting some of his soft hair in my hands, and he did the same to mine, making the kiss rougher. As we got closer and closer, I could feel Ian getting harder and harder, and it made me happy to see I had the same effect on him like he had on me, and I was going to make him suffer. I slowly wiggled my hips on his lap, teasing his erection, then pulled away from the kiss and made my way back to where I was sitting. I got a few shocked looks from the girls and some approving nods and open mouths from the guys, making my smile spread wider. Haha, revenge is sweet. It was now Ian's turn, and I had thought of a great dare. Dare, oh Ian, you are going to regret this. I dare you to kiss. I looked around the circle and laughed. All the guys in this circle on the lips. Ian looked around the room at his football team and stood up, giving them an apologetic look before planting a wet peck on each member's lips. It had all the girls on the floor laughing. After he had finished, he was now serious. Oh crap, he was going to get me back. Dare, I said. Not too confident anymore. Ian's face lit up in excitement. I dare you to stay here tonight, with me, and I can do whatever I want. What? He looked so pleased with himself, but there was no way I could let him do anything he wanted to do. Although I was scared, it also excited me. I wanted Ian, but I wanted him to work for it first. No, there is no way. I shouted back, trying to sound horrified and hide the lust I was feeling for him. If you don't, then the penalty is to spend a night with every guy here. I just looked at Ian frozen. He wouldn't. But by looking at his face, I could see that he meant what he said. Even though he meant what he said, there was a look hidden beneath his cocky exterior that said he didn't want to share me because he looked hurt from his own words. His eyebrows fell and I felt as though he was begging me to pick the first option, which I was going to take gladly. I would much rather spend one night with Ian than a load of nights spent with each member of the football team. Fine, I'll go with the first option. All the guys sighed in disappointment at their missed opportunity to spend a night with me, which upset a few of the girls. Ian was keeping it cool but looked like he was bouncing off the walls with excitement in his head. So was I. A night with Ian. It frightened me but also turned me on. Chapter 5. A night to remember. Even after begging and pleading with everyone, even getting on my knees with Sam and Joe, they just flashed me a smile and a wink. You'll be fine, go get him. Sam whispered to me before closing the door behind her and leaving just me and Ian alone. I hated her, and love her so much. Why do friends do this? Knowing that there was no hope. I turned to face Ian, hoping he would get the embarrassment over with. He was standing at the foot of the stairs, arms crossed and smiling the handsome goofy smile at me, almost making me weak at the knees if I wasn't so angry at him. Was he just doing this to get back at me? He only nodded his head in the direction of the stairs, signaling that he wanted me to follow him upstairs, but no way was I going up there. There was more of a chance of me losing it and actually giving in to his charms, just like I almost did when we kissed. So I refused. I turned quickly and ran for the front door, to my freedom. Before I could even twist the doorknob, he had wrapped his big, protective muscular arms around my waist and pulled me easily over his shoulder. I screamed for my release, when he finally gave it to me, placing me down on the floor. We were in a different room, his bedroom. At my confusion, Ian smiled, his heart-melting smile. I shook my head and rushed towards the door, but once again he had stopped me by grabbing my wrist. He tugged on my arm and in one swift movement he had turned me around and up close to his hard chest. Oh, how I wish I could stroke my hand up his six-pack. He gently placed his hand on my lower back, pulling me closer to him, and in a daze from his close contact he placed his finger under my chin and slowly lifted my head to meet his lustful hazel eyes. Then his lush, pink lips were pushed onto mine and we were straight into kissing, roughly, and I loved it. I lifted my hands and brushed them through his hair. He bit my bottom lip, forcing me to moan. That gave him entrance to explore my mouth. He tasted sweet and warm in my mouth. I never wanted him to leave my side. As our kiss got rougher, he pushed me back and slammed me into the wall. I moaned, but it didn't hurt as much as I thought it was going to. Still, our lips never left each other's. He slid his hand to my butt, rubbing and caressing it. He lifted me up and I wrapped my legs around his waist. now feeling his erection that had built in his pants. Without thinking, my body reacted on its own and began lustfully shaking my hips, rubbing against his shaft with my wetness. No, this is too soon. And I don't want a video of us to be spread around school, and I don't want to be another one of his sluts that he just sleeps with and then throws away. A tear burned my cheek as it fell. I wanted this. I wanted Ian, but I know he doesn't want me as much as I wanted him. I was just another sex doll to him. Wow. When did I start to feel so much for Ian? I put my hand on his hard chest and regrettably pushed away from the most passionate kiss I have ever had, and it was with a player who didn't want me. I swung my head in shame for crying over something so silly. Ian's POV. I was so happy when Mia chose to spend the night with me, instead of every other guy. Why was I stupid enough to even mention that? And now we were passionately kissing. She tasted just how I thought, so sweet and warm. I needed more of her. I pushed her to the wall, and when we hit it, she gave off a little moan. That was it, she had just turned me completely hard. Being so close, my manhood was pushed onto her, and after feeling the warmth of her body being so close made it want to be in her, to feel her walls wrap around my cock. She began to sway her hips against me, teasing me. But instead of wanting more, she stopped and moved her hands down to my chest and pushed me away. What? No, I needed her. I wanted her, only her. Being pushed away, I could see the tears escaping her eyes, and it sickened me that it was my fault, that I did this to her. Mia's POV. No, I whispered, barely audible. Stop, I don't want this. I shook my head and wiped the tears away. He lifted my chin up, but I still didn't give him eye contact. He slowly let me down and gently rubbed a tear that had escaped away. Even a little of touches like that had sent sparks through my body. I already missed the warmth and protection his body gave me. He took a few steps back, he looked so hurt. I wanted to take back what I said. I wanted to be back in his hold and on his lips, but I couldn't because it would end badly for me. He cleared his throat. You can take my bed. I'll take one of the guest rooms down the hall. Was Ian upset? Did he really want me that much? Nothing else was said, so Ian quietly left the room. I was alone. I felt so cold without him, so I shuffled to his bed, in search for the warmth that could replace him if that was possible. But when I wrapped myself up in his covers, it smelt like him, like cologne and man, and I was comforted again, but it still wasn't like having Ian here. Ian's POV. Didn't she want me? Was I wrong? No, I wasn't. I could feel it in the kiss we shared, in the looks she gave me, from the way her body reacts. She wanted me, but she didn't want to admit it. But I couldn't think straight. I turned away from her. If I looked at her, I wouldn't be able to control myself, and I would rip off her clothes and just take her on the floor, here and now. Upset, there was a lump in my throat. I coughed it out before I spoke. I didn't want to show her I was weak. You can take my bed. I'll take one of the guest rooms down the hall. Then I rushed out the room and ran down the halls and into the guest room. I slumped down on the bed, already missing her touch, the sparks I got from just touching her. Chapter 6. Good morning. Mia's POV. I was awoken by a buzzing sound. No, I don't want to get up. I was having a lovely dream that I was with Ian and he had his arms wrapped around me, hugging me close to him, wiping away all my worries. Buzz, buzz. What was that? I opened my eyes only slightly but closed them instantly when the burning sun fell through the window. Why didn't I shut the curtain last night? After slowly getting adjusted to the early morning sun, I went in search for this annoying buzzing sound. Shit. It's my phone. I flipped the covers off my body, but I wasn't met by the usual freezing coldness of my bedroom. Pushing that thought aside, I rustled into my jeans pockets to retrieve the buzzing phone, but why was I still wearing my clothes? Hello, I answered the phone, weary of who would be calling me at this time. I am not a morning person. Where are you? My mother asked, worried. What was she talking about? I am in my room. Huh. What are you talking ab? I fully opened my eyes and searched the room I was in. I lifted my eyes from the king-size, soft bed with white Egyptian cotton blankets, and over to the far side where two doors next to each other faced me. Bathroom. Wardrobe. The walls were colored black and white, and a few family pictures on the wall, of Ian. I was in his room, I was in his bed. I jumped out and quickly searched the room, which was at least 3 times as big as my room, in search for Ian, but he wasn't here with me. I was relieved for being on my own, but I was also disappointed. I wanted him here with me. I wanted my dream to be true. Mia, where are you? My mum repeated. I am at my friend Sam's house. She had a sleepover, just me and her. Would she believe my lie? Oh, okay. But next time, could you please text me so I won't have a heart attack when I find you not home? I love my mum, she was so kind and caring, and always put me first. Haha. Sorry mum. I'll be home in 5 minutes, will you still be there? With the hours my mum worked, we hardly ever saw each other, so when she had mornings or nights off from her many jobs, we would spend every second with each other, and I loved it. You bet ya honey. I have the morning off, so hurry on back. At the mention of seeing my mum, my heart lifted, and I had completely forgotten about where I was. Wait, where is Ian house exactly? Oh crap. See you soon. Love you to baby. We hung up and I stood frozen. Trying to think of a plan, could I get out of the house without being noticed? I went to what I thought was the bedroom door, but instead I found a walk-in wardrobe. Was that necessary? On my next attempt I found a bathroom which was a little bigger than my bedroom. Was he serious? Before I had shut the door, a note on a pile of clothes caught my attention. I walked over to the bathroom counter, under a large mirror, and read the note. Mia, you slept in your clothes, so I thought you would appreciate a clean change of clothes after a hot shower. Breakfast is downstairs once you redone. Ian. His words made me start to fall even more in love with him. He cared. Ah. Wait. Stop this Mia. He probably got one of his maids to do this for him. Don't fall for it. So I ignored the letter and went back to my search for the exit. Although I wanted to leave, the hot shower was tempting, as I think it's been a year since I've had a warm shower because of the bills. Hot water is our last concern. I forced the temptation away. I had to leave. With only one more door to try. I was successful. I slowly opened it and looked both ways down the long hallway of wooden doors. God knows what is behind them. I quietly shut the door and made my way towards the stairs and down into the mail hall. The front door was in my sight. As I walked closer and closer, I was beginning to get more scared. My hands were beginning to sweat, my mouth went dry, but why? It's not like I broke into the house, or like I was robbing the place. I was invited in and asked to stay. But I still kept quiet. I passed the kitchen, the door a little open, so I risked the chance to look into the giant, perfectly designed room, to find Ian. He stood, leaning on one hand on the counter, the other lifting a cup of coffee to his beautiful mouth as he read the newspaper below him on the counter as busy kitchen workers buzzed around him preparing breakfast. I stood, staring at him, gazing at his muscular physique. Was it really possible for a man to be this sexy whilst wearing casual jeans and a grey top? He doesn't even try, and he still looks like a model. He brought the cup up to his lips once more and I couldn't help but follow it with my eyes. Those lips, the thought of what happened last night and the feel of his lips roughly on mine. I was starting to heat up, my cheeks turning as red as a tomato. I had to swallow the lump in my throat, pushing away the lust I felt for him. Oh Mia, Ian shouted over to me, waking his hand for me to come join him. His sudden actions dragged me from my thoughts and instinctively I turned away and ran for the door. I had to leave. Mia, Ian shouted behind me, and as I made it out into the long driveway, I could hear him running behind me, so I picked up the pace. I was about to make to the gates that lead onto Main Road, before he overtook me and stood in front of me, forcing me to stop. I was breathing heavily from the running, whilst Ian looked like he never even broke out into a sweat. Why is he so perfect? Ian's POV. When I caught up with her, we both had to get our breath back. Wow, she's a fast runner. Why was she running away from me? And she's still in her own clothes. Did she not read the note? Or did she just not want to be with me at all? My heart sank. I needed her. Where are you going? I finally said. Not wanting an answer, instead I would happily pull her over my shoulder, take her back into my house and lock her in my room forever, just so no other person could have her, and no one could take her away from me. Home. It was a blunt answer, and she never once made eye contact with me. What had I done wrong? Have I done something to upset you? I had to ask. I would do anything to make her love me. But her reaction was not what I expected. She looked even more hurt from my question. Should I have known what I did to hurt her? She never answered. Instead she just scoffed and pushed past me to carry on walking down the road. Don't let her leave. My subconscious screamed at me. I never want to be away from her. I grabbed her arm, forcing her to turn to face me, anger now showing more on her beautiful face, but I still found her so irresistible. How could she do this to me? What? She shouted. I was shocked by her outburst. I wanted to answer by telling her to never leave, or to ask her to give me answer to why she was so angry, but instead I settle with the fact she wouldn't tell me even if I asked. At least let me take you home. She looked at me for a while, clearly thinking hard about how to answer the question why. Doesn't she want me to know where she lives or something? Mia's POV, at least let me take you home, he asked me what? No. I can let the richest and most powerful guy at my school see where I live, see my rundown, poor house. I wasn't up for his jokes. Not while I was angry at him for treating me like another one of his whores, and then playing dumb about it. I pulled my arm from his strong grasp. He didn't want to let me go. I only wish he wanted me to stay because he loved me. No. I'll make my own way home. I turned and briskly made my way home. I just wanted to get home and spend time with my mom and forget this weekend altogether. Chapter 7. Party, Mia's POV. I met up with Sam in the cafeteria, but my thoughts were all on what happened on Friday and Saturday. I still had the feel of Ian's lips on mine, the way his tongue stroked mine, and how his sweetness tasted. Stop, Mia. I had to tell myself. I was beginning to get turned on just from the thought of him, from the thought of how he felt when we touch, the sparks that fly through my body. I regret leaving the way I did, but I had to. My mind goes to mush whenever I am around him, and I know that if I were to have stayed I would have regretted it by doing something embarrassing. Although I want him. I want him to want me first. Mia, Sam screamed at me, grabbing my attention. What? I've been talking to you for 10 minutes, and you've just sat there looking like a zombie. What's wrong? Sam could always tell when I wasn't feeling alright. I could never lie to her. Oh sorry it's Ian, last night after you left. I told Sam everything and she gave me sympathetic look because she knew how much I was falling in love with him, but she also knew how much of a player Ian was. Oh Mia. I am sorry. If I had known how you felt I wouldn't have pushed you to stay with him that night, but I have something that could make you feel better. I raised an eyebrow at her suspiciously. What? I was too scared to ask, but her joking mischievous smile made me laugh. We're going to a party tonight. And our plan is, we're going to make Ian jealous and wish he never fooled my Mia. We both broke out into laughter over our evil plan. Ian and the rest of the jocks surrounded our table, each taking an available seat. Ian, taking his now usual seat at the head of the table next to me. I didn't like being this close. Not after the weekend we had. He didn't look his usual cocky self, but instead he looked at me with caution, weary of my response. This confused me. Why was he so considerate over what I thought of him? I didn't be with him right now. Not with my emotions flying everywhere. I needed to clear my head. I stood up and took my exit from the table, but as I turned I caught a glimpse of Ian. His eyebrows were pushed together and his eyes shone hurt. He was upset, but was it over me leaving? I shook my head. I was being stupid. So I carried on walking away. I walked out the school. Knocking into the fellow students as eager as me. Trying to exit the school to freedom at the end of the day. I walked up the grass and admired the blissful sunny day. The sun rays gently covering my body with warmth, bringing a genuine smile to my face. Sam was already at her car, leaning on the driver's side door waiting for me. As I got closer to her little black Beetle, it really didn't be admired amongst the many rare and beautiful cars that surrounded her. The ride back to Sam's house was quick as she only lived a few blocks away. We were going back to Sam's because we agreed that she would have sexier clothes I could wear to impress, and also she could do my hair and makeup. Oh joy. We pulled into the driveway of Sam's house. It was huge. But after seeing Ian's, no other house could compare in size. It was styled like a cottage, with mostly white or wooden dane. It looked beautiful. We made our way to her room. Her room was double the size of mine, a queen-size bed on the right, a huge window with cushions on the window sill so you were able to sit and watch the world go by. Opposite the bed was the walk-in wardrobe, and next to the door leading into the bedroom was her bathroom. The walls were painted pink and white. Sam was a girly girl. Here Sam forced a small black dress in my face. Try it on. Sam loved getting all dressed up. And loved it even more when I let her do my makeup and hair. I took one look at the dress, then looked back at Sam. Is this a top? There is no way I am going to wear this, trust me. It will look great on you. Trust her. What? I looked back at the dress in my hands. Fine. Without saying another word, I stomped into the bathroom to get dressed. I slid the dress up my body and zipped it up the side. When I looked in the floor-length mirror, I was surprised. The dress didn't make me look like a whore like I thought it would, but instead it came down close to the top of my knee and hugged my curves in the right places, making my boobs look huge and my waist even smaller. There was a V-line cut, but only slightly, so it only shone a little of my cleavage, but enough to tease. I walked out, and Sam looked at me with her mouth wide open. No more dresses, that is the one. Now let me do your hair. I looked down at the dress again. It was a nice dress. Sam wore a short red dress that came off one of her shoulders and straightened her hair. She loosely curled my hair and applied my makeup. I didn't recognize myself at first. I was completely different, but in a good way. I looked hot. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. As we turned down a familiar road, I flicked my eyes out each car window to try and get a better view of where we were. It wasn't until Sam pulled up Ian's driveway when I knew why everything looked so familiar. The party's at Ian's house. I screamed as I turned to Sam, searching for answers. Oh, didn't I mention that, haha. I stared at her in complete disbelief. Yes, you did forget to mention that major detail. I jumped back into my seat and crossed my arm like a little child pulling a temper tantrum. All up the driveway and even on Ian's perfectly maintained yard were cars parked from the owners enjoying the party. You could hear the music and the sound of teenagers having a good time blasting from the house from miles away. Sam began to get more and more excited, but I was the complete opposite. We parked randomly on the grass and Sam got out and around to my side of the car. When she realized I wasn't going to get out, she banged on the window. Come on, Mia. We need to put our plan in action. No, I can't go in there with Ian and all his sluts there with him. Do you really think if you went in there with that sexy outfit on and started flirting with other guys that he would even notice other girls? Sam is very good at persuading, and she was right. And at least if I fail I would get a few guys' numbers for a rebound. I unenthusiastically got out the car and we both made our way to the party arm in arm. As we stepped in I quickly searched for Ian. He was standing by the DJ, which had been placed next to the kitchen, and surprise, he was surrounded by girls. I wanted to make my presence known, so I walked as sexy as I could, swinging my hips towards the kitchen to get a drink. As I passed Ian, I quickly shot him a glance with no emotion to tell him that I didn't care about the many girls around him, when actually, on the inside it killed me. But when I looked at him, his eyes were filled with lust as he looked me up and down. Ha! Payback is sweet. His eyes were basically eye-raping me, imagining my clothes being ripped off, and I did the same to him. His jeans fell low on his waist and his black top was quite loose, but tight on his huge muscular arms. Stop, Mia. I needed to stop myself because as much as I wanted to rip his clothes off, and to have his lips on mine, I didn't until he can show me he wants me. But what if he doesn't love me, and never will? Why? That sudden thought sickened me and I had to fight the tears. Alcohol will solve this, and I will need lots of it. After downing my 5th vodka shot my vision was becoming a little blurry and my speech was slurred. Good, because I was also becoming numb, forgetting Ian, well, at least trying to. A pair of arms snaked around my waist and for a brief moment I thought, no, I wished that they would be Ian's, but they didn't send sparks up and down my body. Nor did I feel protected and safe in them. I swiftly turned, still in the stranger's grasp, as I came face to face with David. I guess flirting with someone I actually know was better than with a stranger. Hey, David's voice was deep and seductive. I guess that's how he gets the ladies. But not to mention he was 6'1" and had a well-toned physique. I smiled. Guess it's time to get my flirt on. Hey you. That sounded so much smoother in my head. Guess I am officially drunk. Wow, someone's been drinking. David chuckled. He had nice white teeth and his smile could melt hearts, but not the same as Ian. He would have me weak at the knees. But I can't keep comparing David to Ian. I needed Ian out of my mind. You betcha, Mr. Flirty Pants. What was I saying? Someone please stop me before I make a complete fool out of myself. David laughed. Would you like to dance with Mr. Flirty Pants? If I didn't know how much of a whore David was, and I wasn't so head over heels in love with Ian, I would actually like David. Or it could just be because I am an easy target. I put my hand in David's, weary of whether this was a good idea or not, but before I had the chance to think it over, I was already being dragged into the main room and dancing in David's arms, grinding seductively up his body. Ian's POV. What's wrong with me? I am having a party and I am surrounded by hot girls who would gladly give themselves to me, and yet I can't get Mia out of my head. She had been blanking me all day and it's killing me. I just want to hold her close in my arms and take away every worry I seen hidden beneath her hard exterior. A few of the girls around me were grabbing onto my arm asking for a dance, but there was no way I could concentrate on what they were saying when Mia walked in wearing the dress she did. The dress was short, showing her long legs and showed some of her sexy, supple breast, but it was still modest. It also hugged her body perfectly, showing off every curve of her hourglass figure. She searched the room, full of guys who had now turned their full attention to her and drooling while I raping her, just like I was. I didn't like the other guys seeing her like this. I just wanted her to only wear this dress when she was with me. She looked lost until our eyes met and I had to swallow away the lump in my throat from the lust I was feeling. I also noticed I was beginning to get hard, just from looking at her. I needed her. She slowly made her way over in my direction, sexily swaying her hips, teasing me and my rock-hard cock in my pants. Our eyes met once more before she made her way into the kitchen. I wanted to grab her, to take her to my room and claim her as mine once and for all. So no other guy could touch her because they would all know she was mine. But I was stopped by the crowd of girls that had now formed around me, all pulling me towards the dance floor. One dance and then I would go and search for her. After the dance was over, I was about to make my way into the kitchen when Mia and David emerged hand in hand and walking onto the dance floor. Mia was stumbling and leaning into David for support. She was completely drunk. I had never been so angry. My hands curled into fists at my side to try and contain some of the anger. How could David do this to my girl? I wanted to just go beat the shit out of him for even talking to her, let alone touch her. Chapter 8. Jealous. Ian's POV. When a song started to play, their bodies moved together, grinding seductively on each other. I couldn't take it anymore. She can only do that with me. I don't even remember how I got over to them, but next thing I know David was on the floor under me and I kept punching his face over and over again until blood was pouring from everywhere. He looked like shit. David was my best friend and I wanted to stop, but I couldn't. So I kept pounding away till there was more blood than skin. Stop. What are you doing? Was that Mia shouting? Her soft and gentle voice was telling me to stop and I did, only she could control me like this. I got up and turned to find Mia standing beside us, horror spread across her face. I never want her to look at me like that ever again. It made me so sad and angry at myself. I couldn't take it anymore, so I swiftly picked up her petite body and swung her over my shoulder. She didn't resist as much as she did last time thanks to the many drinks she has had. When we got to my room, I locked the door and gently placed her down, leaning her back against the door. I closed the space between us, warping my arm around her waist and using the other to lift her chin so our eyes could meet. As I lifted her head slowly, I could see all Mia's features on her face close up. She was so sexy. She was the hottest girl I had ever seen. When her eyes met mine, the deep pools of blue looked back into mine and I couldn't resist any longer. I leaned in and placed a soft kiss on her lips. I wanted to go deeper, to taste her, to close the gap between us as much as possible because it was driving me crazy not being together. Not being touched by her all day. When I went to go deeper, I was stopped by something wet hit my face. I backed away slowly, still in a daze from the contact of our bodies, to find Mia crying. My body reacted on its own. Now programmed to always put Mia first, to make my Mia better. I hugged her, moving my arms from her waist, up to the top of her back and one on her head. I stroked her soft hair to try and calm her and pushed her even closer into my chest, absorbing her tears in my top. After a while she seemed to calm down as her crying turned into a little whimper. I felt her lift up her arms and place them on my chest. At first I was excited because I thought that finally she loved me back, but instead she used it to push us apart. I didn't want to move.